Welcome to this edition of the Dad Jokes Explained episode. My name is Graeme Klass, and I'm the producer of the Daily Dad Jokes podcast. Each week, we examine a set of dad jokes and explain them what makes them so funny. Our aim is to arm you with information on delivering your own dad jokes to your friends and family, so you can further spread the laughs and groans. Let's get to it.
I just found out that Albert Einstein was a real person. All this time I thought he was a theoretical physicist.
The humour hinges on the double meaning of theoretical in this context. In science, a theoretical physicist studies concepts and principles that may not be directly observable or proven yet. The joke plays with the idea that if Einstein were only theoretical, he wouldn't exist as a real person, but merely as an abstract concept. This clever twist combines wordplay with the literal versus figurative interpretation of scientific terminology.
One time I knocked on a psychic's door and she said, "Who is it?" So I left.
The humour in this joke comes from the expectation that a psychic should already know who's at the door without asking. The punchline is funny because it highlights an apparent contradiction between what psychics claim to do and their actions. This creates an amusing situation where the narrator decides to leave, implying disappointment or disbelief in the psychic's abilities. The unexpected twist lies in pointing out that if they truly had predictive powers, there would be no need for such a question, making their inquiry ironically redundant.
Did you know that all farts smelled the same in ancient Egypt? They had a toot in common.
This joke plays on the phrase "a toot in common," which sounds like a Tutankhamun. The humour arises from wordplay, as Tutankhamun was a famous Egyptian pharaoh. By suggesting that all farts smelled the same due to having a toot in common, it cleverly connects flatulence with an ancient historical figure through phonetic similarity. This unexpected linguistic twist creates a humorous connection between history and bodily functions.
I found a book called How to Solve 50% of Your Problems. So I bought 2 books.
The humour in this joke arises from a literal interpretation of the book's title. The buyer assumes that purchasing 2 books will solve 100% of their problems, as each supposedly solves half. This approach highlights an amusing misunderstanding or playful twist on mathematical logic applied to self-help strategies. The punchline cleverly exploits the expectation that more resources equate to complete solutions, creating a humorous disconnect between reality and perception.
My girlfriend broke up with me. She thinks I'm childish. So I calmed down, took a deep breath, went to her house, rang the doorbell, and then ran away.
This joke humorously highlights the irony of trying to prove maturity by engaging in a quintessentially childish prank. The setup builds sympathy for the narrator's desire to demonstrate growth after being accused of immaturity. However, the punchline subverts expectations as he reverts to juvenile behaviour by playing ding-dong ditch. This unexpected twist creates comedy through contrast between intention and action, reinforcing his girlfriend's original point.
I told my wife to embrace her mistakes. She gave me a hug.
The humour in this joke comes from the double meaning of embrace her mistakes. The phrase is typically advice to accept and learn from one's errors, but it's taken literally here. The punchline reveals that she considers her husband one of those mistakes, leading to a humorous twist. This unexpected interpretation creates comedy through wordplay and self-deprecation.
I gorged on 14 cans of alphabet soup a few days ago. Ended up having a crippling vowel movement. Then was constipated with the consonants. At the doctor's office. No word yet.
This joke plays on the pun between vowel movement and bowel movement, humorously linking language elements with digestion. The idea of eating alphabet soup sets up the wordplay, as it contains letters that form words. The punchline extends this by suggesting a humorous constipation caused by consonants, further connecting linguistic terms to bodily functions.
When my wife gets angry, I like to put a cape around her. That makes her super angry.
The joke plays on the word super, which has dual meanings. By putting a cape around his angry wife, she becomes super in both being very angry and humorously likened to a superhero. This clever twist combines literal action with figurative language, creating an amusing juxtaposition of expectations versus reality. The humor lies in transforming her anger into something exaggeratedly powerful through playful wordplay and imagery.
What do you call a tea that tastes sometimes like tea and sometimes like coffee? Uncertainty.
This joke plays on the word uncertainty, which sounds like uncertain tea. The humor lies in combining tea and coffee flavors, creating an unpredictable taste experience. This unexpected twist cleverly uses phonetic similarity to connect a common scientific term with a whimsical beverage scenario. By blending language play with everyday experiences, it surprises through its creative logic.
Got home to find my wife had left a note on the fridge that said, "This isn't working, I'm going to my mom's." I opened up the fridge. The light was on and the beer was cold. I'm not sure what she was talking about.
The humor stems from the husband's literal interpretation of his wife's note. He checks if the fridge is functioning, missing that "this isn't working" refers to their relationship. The punchline plays on his obliviousness, contrasting practical appliance concerns with emotional matters. This creates comedy through misunderstanding and unexpected focus shift.
What cheese is made backwards? Eat 'em.
The humor in this joke comes from a clever play on words. Edam is a type of cheese, and when spelled backwards, it reads made. The punchline hinges on the unexpected realization that the answer is embedded in reverse within the question itself. This creates an amusing twist through linguistic symmetry and surprise.
I recently opened a company selling trampolines disguised as prayer mats. Profits are going through the roof.
This joke plays on the homophonic pun between profits and profits. The setup involves selling trampolines disguised as prayer mats, suggesting a business venture. The punchline humorously implies that these products cause profits or profits to soar, cleverly linking religious figures with financial success. This unexpected wordplay creates an amusing connection through phonetic similarity and double entendre.
One big difference between men and women is that if a woman says smell this, it usually smells nice.
The humor in this joke arises from the contrasting social norms and expectations between men and women regarding scents. It plays on the stereotype that women typically share pleasant aromas, like perfumes or flowers. In contrast, when a man says, "Smell this," it often implies an unpleasant odor, such as body odor or something gross. The punchline highlights these differing scenarios to create a humorous juxtaposition based on gender stereotypes about olfactory experiences.
The chefs in my local restaurant have been arguing about the correct temperature to heat the soup. Tensions have finally reached a boiling point.
This joke uses the phrase boiling point as a pun. In cooking, it refers to the temperature at which liquid boils, but figuratively, it describes reaching a peak of tension or conflict. The humor lies in connecting culinary terminology with an emotional climax among chefs. This clever wordplay creates an amusing twist by linking kitchen activities to interpersonal dynamics through language ambiguity.
I was asked who my favorite vampire is. I said, the one from Sesame Street. They told me he doesn't count. I replied, I assure you, he does.
This joke is based on the dual meaning of count. The Count from Sesame Street is a vampire character who loves counting numbers, which plays into his name. When they say he doesn't count, it implies he's not considered a real vampire. The punchline cleverly affirms his counting ability while humorously disputing their dismissal.
My son asked if trees poop. I said, of course. How do you think we get number 2 pencils?
The humor in this joke hinges on the phrase number 2, which has dual meanings. In one sense, it refers to a type of pencil commonly used for writing in standardized tests. Simultaneously, number 2 is a euphemism for defecation. The punchline cleverly connects these concepts by suggesting that trees produce pencils through an amusingly literal interpretation of their waste production.
I just read through 6 pages of the dictionary. I learned next to nothing.
This joke relies on the pun next to nothing, which has a double meaning. Literally, it suggests that after reading 6 pages of the dictionary, one learned almost nothing. However, dictionaries organize words alphabetically, thus nothing would indeed be next to something else in those pages. The humor arises from this clever play on language structure and expectations about learning.
Today I went to the library to get a book about conspiracies. There were none there. Coincidence?
This joke humorously suggests that the absence of conspiracy books is itself a conspiracy. The punchline plays on the idea that conspiracies often involve hidden agendas or secrets, implying intentional removal. By questioning if it's a coincidence, it cleverly engages with typical conspiracy theorist rhetoric, adding an ironic twist to an everyday library visit. This unexpected connection between missing books and secretive plots creates comedy through playful suspicion.
The other day I found out my toaster wasn't waterproof. I was shocked.
This joke plays on the double meaning of shocked. Literally, it refers to experiencing an electrical shock from using a toaster in water. Figuratively, it means being surprised by discovering the lack of waterproofing. The humor arises from combining these interpretations into one unexpected punchline.
For weeks now, my teenager has been pushing me into giant flower pots, throwing seeds on me, and dousing me with water. I finally had it and said, "Why do you treat me like dirt?"
This joke relies on the pun between treat me like dirt and the literal actions of planting. The teenager's behavior mimics gardening, treating their parent as if they were soil for growing plants. The humor emerges from this clever wordplay, linking a common idiom to an absurdly literal scenario. By combining figurative language with tangible actions, it creates an unexpected twist that highlights the dual meaning of being treated poorly or literally as dirt in a garden setting.
I have a horse. His name is Mayo. Sometimes mayonnaise.
This joke relies on a pun involving the phrase mayonnaise, which sounds like mayonnaise. The humor comes from personifying mayonnaise as a horse named Mayo that neighs, playing with expectations by combining an animal sound with a condiment name. This unexpected wordplay creates amusement through phonetic similarity and surprise.
It was pretty difficult getting a third daughter. I mean, it took me a second to get here.
This joke plays on the double meaning of second and third. While one might expect it to refer to a unit of time, here it's humorously used as an ordinal number indicating birth order. The punchline cleverly twists expectations by using language ambiguity about timing versus sequence in family planning. This creates comedy through the playful confusion between chronological effort and numerical offspring count.
What do you call a bunny in a kilt? A hopscotch.
The humour stems from the pun on hopscotch, which blends a rabbit's hopping action with Scottish attire. A kilt is traditional Scottish clothing, and Scotch refers to things related to Scotland. By combining these elements, it creates an amusing image of a bunny dressed in cultural garb while hopping around. This clever wordplay connects animal behaviour with regional fashion through linguistic fusion, resulting in a playful twist that surprises by merging unrelated concepts into one term. And that wraps up another episode of Daily Dad Jokes Explained. May these jokes inspire your own groan-worthy moments. This episode is produced by Klassic Studios. See the show notes page for sources and credits. Check out our other podcasts in our network at klassicstudios.com.